As we open the table of discussion for this edition of In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama magazine, Stephen M. Smith. On last week's show, I mentioned we would open up this week with diving into, chewing on, digesting the Las Vegas odds that came out to start the month of July via Las Vegas Superbook on the teams that have the best chance of winning the college football playoff and a certain quarterback that has the best odds out of any other quarterback returning to college football of winning the 2018 Heisman Memorial Trophy. So we're going to jump into that right now. Before I do so, I want to remind you, check out Touchdown Alabama magazine on YouTube. Subscribe, like the podcast, leave comments, thoughts, concerns. My job is to give you, the smart Alabama football fan, you, the individual that enjoys, loves, craves, excited to watch this program every time you get a chance to, that being the Crimson Tide under head coach Nick Saban, to give you the best in analysis, commentary, up-to-date content on your Crimson Tide. So, when you look at Las Vegas, these guys crunching some serious numbers in terms of college football, and on last week, put out its best odds of winning the college football playoff. The Crimson Tide, no shock to anybody listening, led those odds at 9-5. Behind Alabama, you had Clemson/Ohio State. Both share odds of 5-1. And then you have Georgia, who had odds of 6-1. Michigan with 12-1 odds. Washington with 15-1 odds. And then you had the combination of Auburn and Wisconsin at 20-1 odds. Not going to name anymore because that becomes kind of irrelevant and besides the point, but those guys, those particular teams listed right there. Bama with the best odds at 9-5. And when you look at Alabama's schedule this season, it sets up for the Crimson Tide to make a run at the college football playoff and have a chance to win back-to-back national championships for the first time since the 2011-2012 season. First game of the year, September 1st in Orlando, Florida. Crimson Tide will take on the Louisville Cardinals under Bobby Petrino. Lamar Jackson no longer there. Heart and soul of that team, heart and soul of that offense, but it does return Juwan Pass, who comes into his redshirt sophomore year. Juwan Pass, who was a dual-threat quarterback in the 2016 signing class, chose Louisville over Auburn and Alabama at 6'4", 209 pounds, comes out of the Georgia area, Columbus, Georgia. Last season, Juwan Pass through 6 games, 238 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Going to have a lot put on him. Can he handle it is the question. He's got the size, has the physicality, but can he handle the demands of running a Bobby Petrino offense, knowing that Petrino is going to look to him to be the guy? When you look at Lamar Jackson, did more than just throwing the football. He was also the Cardinals' leading rusher a season ago. Louisville returns Day Williams to the backfield. The rising sophomore totaled 38 carries for 235 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the big positive for Louisville is on the outside at wide receiver. The Cardinals return some physical guys. And the one thing that's given a lot of Alabama defensive backs in the past problems is dealing with those 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", freakish big-bodied receivers that can go up, out-box you or box you out for the football, go up, out-jump you, shield the ball away from you with their body, and just make big plays. When you look at Louisville, Jalen Smith returns for his senior year at 6'4". He had 60 catches for 980 yards, 7 scores, led the team. And then you have Dez Fitzpatrick back as a sophomore, 6'2", 200 pounds, 45 receptions, 699 yards, 9 touchdowns. And then Seth Dawkins back as a junior at 6'3", 42 catches, 642 yards, and 4 scores. So Louisville's got the weapons at wide receiver. Can Juwan Pass lead them on offense? Can Dave Williams be the guy in the backfield? Those are your two questions. But as far as receivers, Louisville has the pass-catching weapons. Defensively is another question, because aside from John Greenard at linebacker and Dorian Etheridge at linebacker, you don't know who the alpha males are for Louisville. John Greenard led the team in tackles for loss, 15.5, led the team in sacks with 7, led the team in quarterback hurries with 6 in 2017. Dorian Etheridge led the team in tackles with 83. Aside from those two, gotta find who are the big-time stars, the big-time playmakers for Louisville. But when you look at the Vegas odds, they got Alabama projected to beat Louisville by more than 4 touchdowns in week 1. Should be an interesting matchup, but Cardinals got some pieces. We'll see. We move down to week 3 here. Alabama takes on Ole Miss. The Rebels 6-6 last season. They faced them September 15th, Vaught-Hemingway Stadium in Oxford. Ole Miss has got a quarterback. Jordan Ta'amu showed a season ago. Shea Patterson went down. He got hurt. Ta'amu answered the bell. Shea Patterson now at Michigan. Ta'amu, 1,682 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 4 picks. Ole Miss needs a run game. Jordan Wilkins is gone. Eugene Brasley's back. They've got a couple of young guys, but Ole Miss needs to find its identity. Phil Longo and that staff offensively needs to find an identity running the football. At wide receiver, Ole Miss, a lot like Louisville, they've got some freakish players. A.J. Brown, the leader of the bunch, 75 catches, 1,252 yards, 11 touchdowns. DeMarcus Lodge had 7 scores last year, as did DK Metcalf. And then a tight end, Dawson Knox, 24 catches, 321 receiving yards. Defensively for Ole Miss, you lost Marcus Haynes, you lost Breland Speaks, you lost Marquise Gates, you lost A.J. Moore, you lost C.J. Hampton. A lot of big pieces there. But Josiah Coatney back, Benito Jones back, Dietrich Ben-Dukes back, Ken Webster in the secondary back, Miles Hartfield in the secondary back. For Ole Miss, can the defense pan out under Matt Luke? And can these guys find something deep within themselves to play for? Because when you're under bowl ban, postseason ban by the NCAA, you've got all the talent in the world, but it becomes hard to find that motivation when you're under an NCAA bowl ban. The good thing for Ole Miss, they played Alabama well at Vaught-Hemingway 2014, the 23-17 victory it had over the Crimson Tide. And of course, 2016, Alabama had to come back from a 24-3 deficit to beat the Rebels 48-43. So then there's that. But Ole Miss, week 3, should be a fun matchup. When you look at other teams in the SEC, the reason why Bama has the best odds is due to the coaching turnover that's happened in this conference. And then also, you don't know what everybody else is going to bring to the table. First and foremost, Missouri. Missouri has a strong offense with Drew Lock calling the shots. They've got guys running the football, Larry Roundtree III, Demarie Crockett, 2 strong running backs. They've got receivers returning despite losing Jamon Moore to the National Football League. Missouri's got an offense. Drew Lock, almost 4,000 passing yards last year. 3,964 to be exact. I mean, this guy is being looked at as a potential first-round draft pick for the NFL in 2019. But defensively, there's the problem for Mariota. Who will be the guys on defense to step up, emerge, make plays, and take some pressure off of that Missouri offense because Missouri's going to have to score to keep itself in some ball games. So, will they develop a defense? That's Missouri's issue. You got Arkansas, where no more Brett Bielema. Chad Morris is in. He molded a guy in Tosh Boyd at quarterback at Clemson. Did some good things at Tulsa. Did some good things at Southern Methodist University, so he knows the Texas area pretty well. But he comes to Arkansas trying to implement spread offense to a program that's used to ground and pound, play action, those types of things. Will that system take root? Had a great conversation last week with my man Pat Jenkins with On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. If you missed that podcast, go check it out. Touchdown Alabama Magazine, YouTube, in the archives. But Pat talked about Arkansas excited, full of energy. They're ready to see what Chad Morris brings to the table. But because he's new, and you've got new coach versus longest tenured guy in the Southeastern Conference, Nick Saban, those matchups don't really end well for the opposition. So there's Arkansas. And then you look at Tennessee. It's going to take a while for Jeremy Pruitt to rebuild that program. Volunteer fans happy. They're jumping up and down. Yay, we got Pruitt. Yay, we got a Saban guy. Yeah, we got a guy who's been a part of the process. But also, you've been through Lane Kiffin and Derek Dooley and Butch Jones and a whole bunch of mess that you got to clean up. You are a living dumpster fire. And you got to rectify that. And it's going to take Jeremy Pruitt a while to rectify that. First and foremost, who's going to be the quarterback at Tennessee between Jarrett Guarantano and the graduate transfer that Tennessee's bringing in? Who are going to be the guys on the offensive line, at running back, at receiver, on defense? Jeremy Pruitt's got a lot to clean up. Will he get there? More than likely, maybe, but not year one. I mean, you go from Tennessee to LSU, and it's nobody fears LSU anymore. I mean, I remember there was a 5 to 6 year period from 2007 to 2012. People used to fear LSU. Alabama fans used to be like, oh man, we got LSU on schedule. Doggone it. That might be a game we lose. They tough. They physical. They fans are loud. They play good ball down there. Man, if ever there was a game we lose, LSU, they always that team that give us the most headache. LSU at one point in time was the team that people feared. Now, with the walking Teletubby talking about Creole, Mr. Ed Ogeron, nobody is afraid of LSU. Since the 2012 BCS national title game off the 2011 season, Alabama has beaten LSU 7 consecutive times, including 3 wins in Death Valley, Tiger Stadium, 2012, 2014, and 2016. Nobody fears LSU. Then you go to Mississippi State, and new coach over there, Joe Moorhead. Good quarterback in Nick Fitzgerald, but how healthy is he? That's the biggest question. Defensively, Montez Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons, those guys are dogs. Those guys are pretty good. Pretty darn good. But how healthy is Nick Fitzgerald, and how quickly can Joe Moorhead adjust from Penn State to the Southeastern Conference? So, honestly, when you really dive this thing down, and even down to Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher, year one for the Aggies, they will be competitive. Jimbo Fisher, he will have that group competitive, but even with the Aggies, you really can't count them or figure them into the equation until year 3. I mean, maybe Jimbo Fisher has this group like Georgia, and they're a year ahead of the curve. And by year 2, they're making noise, but quite honestly, Jimbo Fisher won't be able to stake his claim in here until year 3. His 2019 recruiting class is looking strong, second in the country behind Alabama. But where A&M's issue is, since coming to the Southeastern Conference in 2012, they have not fared well against Alabama. Only time they've beaten the Tide, the 2012 season with Johnny Manziel at Bryant-Denny. Last 2 times they were in Bryant-Denny, they lost 59-0 in 2014. They lost 33-14 in 2016. So even with Jimbo, it's going to take some time there. The biggest test for Alabama is going to come back to the Iron Bowl. I mean, you got a tenured coach in Gus Malzahn, though if you look at half the Auburn fan base, the marriage between Gus Malzahn and the Auburn fan base is a seesaw. I mean, it's back and forth. I mean, one moment Auburn fans are like, yeah, Gus Malzahn, greatest thing since Teddy Grahams. He's the one that can challenge Nick Saban. He's the one that, he's not always the greatest, but he knows what he's doing. Best thing since Teddy Grahams. And then a day later, Auburn faithful, can we just get somebody better than Gus Malzahn, please? The Gus busted and went down and lost a tire, it done lost a window, it done lost the horn. Can we please get somebody better than Gus Malzahn right now? When your own fan base is questioning you half the time, that marriage is a seesaw. But he continues to tolerate it. Auburn Nation continues to tolerate Gus Malzahn, and you bring back Jarrett Stidham, SEC Newcomer of the Year, had over 3,000 passing yards a season ago. Got to find your bell count running back due to Kerryon Johnson and Cam Petway both gone, but they've got some guys. All the receivers come back, including Ryan Smith. Defensively, you got some pieces. Some are gone, but you got some pieces returning, including Derek Brown at nose tackle. Offensive line, Braden Smith gone. Got to find some replacements there. But due to Auburn beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl last year, 26-14. And the majority of the time, the biggest part of the college football playoff and the biggest part of the SEC title comes down to who wins that Iron Bowl. Gives even more of a reason why, Auburn's that team that could give Bama the biggest challenge. But we'll see what happens. Jumping from that part of the conversation to the Heisman, seeing Alabama with the best odds at 9-5 to win the national championship should not be a shock. However, the Heisman odds were a bit of a shock to me. Las Vegas Superbook had Stanford running back Bryce Love with the best odds at 6-1. But in terms of quarterback, and there are a lot of big-armed elite quarterbacks, quite a few headline signal callers returning to college football. You've got Drew Lock back for the SEC. You've got Jake Fromm of Georgia. You've got Trace McSorley of Penn State. Kalia Tate, Arizona State. Jake Browning, Washington. Will Greer, West Virginia. Kyler Murray, Oklahoma. Jarrett Stidham, Auburn. Quite a few big names returning to the quarterback position. But the name that outweighed all of them in terms of chances of winning the Heisman Trophy, Alabama's Tua Tagovailoa. Tua, 8-1 odds to win the Heisman. Highest of any quarterback on the list. Second highest as far as players overall, but the highest quarterback on that list was Tua at 8-1. This offense for the Crimson Tide is projected to be electric, high-scoring, power-packful. I'm excited to see this. I'm really excited to see this. I mean, when you look at a lot of these clippings, whether it's ESPN, whether it's Sporting News, whether it's Sports Illustrated, whomever you choose to read at that time, you see Tua's name, bold print. This guy's got it. This guy's the man. This guy's a Heisman contender. This guy could be a front runner. This guy could win the trophy. This guy could be the first quarterback under Nick Saban that may have his game transition well to the NFL. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it. As I mentioned on a previous podcast, what Tua gave Alabama fans in the national championship game and during limited action that he had last year, he gave Tide fans a movie teaser, movie trailer. The movie trailer, I'm the best quarterback that's ever been recruited, signed, committed, playing for the Crimson Tide. I could be the best quarterback Saban's ever brought in. That's the movie trailer. And the trailer is only as good as the movie. Can he come in and do those things? Which a lot of people think he can. It's going to be fun to watch. Very interesting. Going to be very interesting watching Tua to see what he does. Because Las Vegas Superbook has him with the highest odds. Should he win the job, he's got the talent around him. Damian Harris, Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Brian Robinson, Irv Smith Jr., Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devonta Smith, Tyrell Shavers. I mean, pick your poison. It's like that lyric by YG, baby, who do you love? You got everybody out there. You got all that you need at your disposal. Can you handle it? Can you get it done? That will be on Tua. Also, I thought it was pretty cool they had Damian Harris with 18-1 odds to win the Heisman, but Tua carrying the highest odds for quarterback, second highest odds as far as overall players. We're going to our first break here on In My Own Words. Just getting started, folks. When we return, I wrote an article over the weekend on punter Skylar DeLong. And as good as J.K. Scott was, and he was, legendary guy, arguably best punter in Alabama history, I wrote the article on how Skylar DeLong could possibly be better than J.K. And I'm going to back up my claim with 2 points on the other side of the break. Keep it locked right here, folks. We'll be right back. It's your boy, Stephen M. Smith, host of In My Own Words, the podcast. If you are a fan of this show, then I encourage you to subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Also follow the brand on Facebook, Twitter, and other forms of social media as we continue to bring you the best in Alabama football and Crimson Tide athletics.